How's it guys, Munash here, back with more Alliance War. I believe this is the second one of Season 26, which was a bit of an interesting one, especially when we get to the boss fight, who I did bring Sorcerer Supreme for. Then I brought Warlock for that annoying strike counter Hyperion in Section 2. So I used Doom quite a lot in this war. He did 5 out of the 7 fights. So let's get on to part 3, where we first have an Airwalker, the most useless cosmic champ in I don't know how long. I mean, this guy's been out for what, almost a year now, and this is only the first time I'm fighting him in Alliance War. And that doesn't really surprise me because, I mean, he kind of sucks on defense as well, so this was actually one of the easiest war fights I've done in quite some time during the season. I mean, it's probably the easiest protect fight I've done in quite some time. I was a bit surprised to see him here because Airwalker is just one of those champs who I used to forget is even in the game. I'm not even sure if I have a 5-star because he's just so forgettable. Kind of like how he forgets how to use his own special 3 unless he has 3 of those buffs or is defending. Honestly, whose bright idea was it to lock his special 3 and basically give him a prerequisite to gaining 3 bars of power? Because I feel like if you're gonna do that, the special 3 must be truly amazing. I mean, it must be able to do crazy stuff like heal every champ in your team or cure coronavirus, or I don't know, maybe just one-shot the champ like the Collector. But all it does is give him a Galactus buff to increase his attack, power gain, also gives him some regen, unstoppable, a few other cool stuff, but it only lasts for 20 seconds and then your power gets reset to 0, so not enough to make him a good champ in my opinion. So a pretty easy fight with Doom, and now we're gonna move on to a much better cosmic champ, which is of course Corvus with strike counter fury, armor and power drain. So this is quite a standard placement. I've seen it a lot now. I've done this fight with a few different champs now, and I've never had a problem with it, well, except for that one time when I used Quake and he decided to block mid-combo, which threw me off. Then I got comboed, lost most of my health, was down to assassin range, so I couldn't Quake safely anymore. Then I eventually just failed to intercept and died, but at least that was during the off-season. But today we're using a rank 3 Doom who makes this fight pretty easy. In fact, I don't even need to worry about the strike counter node because he doesn't actually hit that hard through my block. Since Doom is pretty tanky, he's got that extra crit resistance, so he doesn't even crit through my block sometimes. Which is something I've always found interesting, the whole concept of guaranteed crits. Emphasis on guaranteed, which to me is just false advertising because it's not really guaranteed. I mean, it can still be lowered by crit resistance. So that's kind of dumb. I mean, if something is guaranteed, it should be guaranteed. It should always activate when you try to trigger it. But we all know Kabam logic works in mysterious ways. They probably just coded it to still have a crit rate but of a very high number. So it seems guaranteed since you're always critting, but when you add crit resistance you find out that it's actually not. But anyway, Corvus goes down, very simple fight, just had to alt between special 1 and special 2, so he doesn't gain too many of those furies. Now moving on to section 2, we have an E.M.P modification Longshot. He also has Rolling Thunder, Burden of Might and enhanced energy attacks. He also has 4 fingers, which isn't really relevant to the fight, but it just looks weird. Like, look at this frame right here. I wonder what it would be like to live life with hands like that. Like, how different would it be? Would there be any major disadvantage to having 3 fingers plus 1 opposable thumb compared to having 4 plus 1 thumb? Because you still have a full hand, you just have 1 less finger, so your fingers are also thicker. I guess typing is one major activity where having less fingers would put you at a disadvantage. But really, you don't even need that many fingers for typing. I can't really think of any more examples right now, but I feel like if you woke up the next day and just had hands like that, that could be pretty weird. Would definitely take some getting used to, but if you were born with hands like that, then it probably wouldn't be that weird. I mean, you can still live a pretty normal life. You might just be slightly disadvantaged in certain activities that might require some dexterity, like playing an instrument or something. And I don't know how I spent this much time talking about having 4 fingers, but Doom is a pretty good counter for this fight because he's shock immune, so you can just ignore E.M.P modification. And then there's Burden of Might, which can be quite advantageous because you get extra combat power rate. However, you can get power drained when you lose a buff, which is why I avoided triggering Dex during this fight. So now I'm going to apply a boost, just a lesser champion boost for the rest of my fights in section 2. And next up we have a Tigra with Vigor and Indomitable. So once again I'm going to use Doom for this fight. It's a very standard Doom fight. Do the usual rotation, special 1 for power control, special 3 for the fury, big boy damage, special 2 with the incinerates. And I'm not going to let her throw a special attack. I'm just going to hold block, bait that heavy attack or bait that combo. And then reparry, carry on with the usual Doom combo, and she's going to be pretty powerless in this fight. No pun intended, but she's not going to throw any special attacks. Tigra is one of those champs who I see gets placed all over the place, kind of like her animations. Like one point she'll be on the far left of the screen, then you hit the special 2 button and she goes from bottom left to top right in the blink of an eye, leaping in the air, rolling on the floor, and just being the crazy cat lady that she is, while being unblockable of course. But that's really no issue for Doom and his epic power control, so I usually use him for the Tigra matchup. If for some reason I can't use him, then I'm probably gonna use Quake. So another straightforward fight for Doom, and now we have one more Doom fight, but this one won't be as simple. This was easily the most difficult fight of my war so far, cause now we have a Sentinel with Buffet and Lionheart. So this is quite an interesting one because ideally you want somebody who can either heal block in some way or out damage Buffet. So Doom can't heal block, which is why I was considering using Warlock for this fight since the regen won't be an issue for him. But I thought his damage won't be that great since Sentinel is bleed immune and builds up crit resistance with analysis. So I went with Doom because at least he has some incinerate damage, which Sentinel isn't immune to, and good power control, which actually helps not give him too much analysis. If he were to get to 100 analysis, then his special attacks will apply their effects through your block. So if you were to throw a special 2, then you would have to dex it to avoid taking incinerate damage. And dex plus buffet equals more regen for him, which just makes the fight longer. And it's already long enough. In fact, this is the longest Doom fight by far. Took me nearly 2 minutes, which isn't that bad, but still. I believe I did the whole fight without triggering Dex because I really wasn't sure if Doom would be able to outdamage the buffet node, especially if he were to hit 100 analysis, because then he becomes a lot more tanky and his special attacks consume less power. Oh no, I did not do the entire fight without triggering buffet. I dexed once and he went from 28% to 45%, which was quite annoying. And the other thing about this fight is the longer you take doing it, the more difficult it becomes. There's also his Sig ability, which basically gives him power control resistance, so any ability that would cause him to lose power would be less effective for each analysis that he has. So at this stage of the fight, the power steal from my Doom is not as effective as it used to be. It's still helping me control the fight, but you can see that the power steal is a lot less effective than it used to be. Like check the special one. He has 2 bars of power, but after I throw it, I don't even get back 1 bar. But fortunately now the fight is pretty much done. Take him out with the special 2 while he has 92 analysis. So overall, not bad at all, and that's going to be the last Doom fight. Now we have one more Warlock fight, which is going to be the Hyperion on strike counter combat power rate. He also has buffet, and this is why we use Warlock instead of Doom. If my Doom was unawakened, then I could use him because the real problem is Hyperion's power gain. Whenever I nullify it, I'll get my own power gain, which will trigger buffet. And you can't really do the usual Doom combo because of strike counter. And using a special 3 for the Fury might help to outdamage buffet. But Hype is a large champ, so he can trigger protect. So I'd rather not use Doom special 3 in fights like this unless I really have to. So this fight is kind of a Doom trap, which is why we use Warlock. But I think there is a way to play it with Doom where you can actually get the fight done without much problem, but it is going to be a bit more trickier since you have to watch out for the combat power rate and will kind of time your dex or your triggering of dex so you don't get your power gain buffeted. But it's just so much simpler to use Warlock, you know, those infections do so much in this fight. Not only does it take care of buffet, but also whenever Hype regens, you'll get power drained. And that is huge for managing this fight, because then the strategy becomes parry heavy since the heavy applies a bleed debuff, which will trigger his willpower, so he'll get power drained as long as he is infected. That's what usually happens, however today he did not have willpower. So I've taken this fight a couple of times now, but this is the first time I've seen this placement without willpower. And when I saw that, I was like, finally, because that actually makes a pretty big difference when you're playing with Warlock. If the opponent has willpower, then you can just debuff them, and as long as they're infected, they'll be getting power drained. The only other source of regen in this fight is through the buffet node, which isn't very consistent. And that's also why I use the special 3 defense boost, just in case they don't have willpower. Because without it, you will likely take more special 3s, unless you can bait the special attacks quickly enough, which you will have to do a lot more of now. And the fight generally just becomes more messy. So I took 1 special 3 during this fight, but overall it's still not that bad without willpower. The main difference is this time I actually had to bait special attacks. And I didn't have full uptime on infection, so I just had to make sure I don't dex when he's not infected. Alright, so now we at the main event, Sorcerer Supreme versus a rank 3 Magneto boss. I haven't done this fight before, but I have done a similar fight, which was Magneto on the mini-boss on the right with Brute Force and Limber. An easier fight than this one, but not by that much, and Sorcerer creamed that fight, so I figured she should work pretty well for the boss as well. Will probably just take a bit longer since he has more health. So I kind of volunteered for this fight because I was quite keen to try it out. And I think I was the only one in the group who had a rank 5 sorcerer, or at least who used her regularly. So now I'm finally gonna boost properly. Got Greater Champion, some Mystic boost because Sorcerer can do some pretty good damage with the special too. And then Advanced Power boost to make managing the fight a lot easier from the start. All I have to do is use the pre-fight to start with Icon's Blessing. Then I'll be able to apply a slow debuff as soon as the fight starts. And it's the slow that makes the fight a lot easier because then I can at least bait a heavy attack without him going unstoppable. And just punish quite easily. So I go in with Sorcerer, and after I get the heavy attack opening I drop my special 1. It whiffs, which is fine because it's got a lot of pushback, and also applies a slow debuff on activation so you don't have to hit the opponent. So now the slow is about to expire and I'm nowhere near to 3 bars of power, so I'm gonna throw a special 2 to reapply it, and because I have Raggador's Resolve I'll also activate the regen on block, which helps so much against a duped Magneto because that block penetration can be quite nasty, especially with True Strike. So now I'm gonna throw one more special 1 before the special 3, which was a bit of an error because I wanted to throw a special 2 since that will pause the duration of each effect, so longer duration on the slow debuff basically. But I wasn't sure if I was gonna get to 2 bars of power before the slow blessing expires. So I just threw an L1 to apply the slow that just expired, and now I'm gonna have to wait until Econ's Ingenuity comes back before I can throw my special 3. So this will bank the rune, which will allow me to apply a slow debuff whenever I throw a special attack, no matter which blessing is active at the time. So that's gonna make managing the fight a lot easier. Now I won't have to worry about the heavy unstoppable so much. Now I'm pretty much set up for this fight. All I really want to do now is throw special attacks when I have Raggador's Resolve for the regen, or when I have Ceterax's Ferocity for the armor break. And I'll do a bit more damage with the Fury. But things don't always line up perfectly, like sometimes I will throw a special attack when I have Econ's Ingenuity, which is the one that applies the slow, which I don't need because I can apply it with any blessing. But it's really no big deal, as long as you have at least 1 slow debuff and 1 regen you should be fine. So what I like to do is alternate between the special 1 and special 2. Special 1 for the nullification aura so you can deal with the adaptive node and just gain more power with MD. Then the special 2 is more for damage, and it also pauses the effects of each blessing. So this fight's been going pretty well so far, although I am a bit behind on time, but that's because getting set up took me about a minute and you don't do that much damage during that time. So I just gotta keep up the momentum, keep dropping those special attacks, and eventually Magneto will go down. Unless this happens. Where do I even begin? So yeah, this really annoyed me. Like, I was so shocked that this actually happened. I thought if I'm gonna lose this fight, it's gonna be for something stupid, like, I don't know, maybe a lag spike and then I get comboed, or mistime a parry or evade or something. But I never imagined it would be from my special 2 whiffing like that. I mean, it's like she had the reach of an 8-year-old in this situation, you know, tiny little arms that just can't make it that far. And to make it even sillier, it's almost like she's mocking him with the animations. It's like they were playing a game of Simon Says, but Magneto never actually said Simon, so as punishment he decides to destroy her, cause, you know, he's old school like that. He did not show any mercy. After the first hit whiffed, he did a 2-hit combo then blocked the last hit. And he didn't just stop there, he actually followed up and punished, and the punish itself was so brutal. He could have done a 1 or 2-hit combo and then backed off. Even a 3-hit combo I would have survived, but nah, he decides to do a 4-hit combo. And what is this crit rate? 3 out of 4 hits? Since when was Magneto the mutant Corvus? I don't think I've ever seen mine crit like that, but whatever, that death was just really annoying. First one of the season, and I still had to revive and heal her up to finish this fight. And this time I didn't bother with the advanced power boost, I just went in straight. So I was trying to bait that combo ender, but he kept on throwing heavy attacks instead. So by the time I got to 1 bar of power, the slow blessing had expired. So it took me a bit of time to apply that first slow debuff. And this time I didn't bother banking a rune with the special 3 because you don't really need to. It can make the fight a bit easier to manage, but I was just so fed up with it, you know. After that death, I was like, nah, I'm getting this fight done quickly now. I was in a pretty good mood, having a wonderful day, until this Magneto came and just ruined it. Also, what is up with these PI? I know it's not really relevant to the fight, but why is it so high? I mean, it's over 95,000. That might just be the highest PI I've ever seen on a war boss. And Mags's prestige or PI isn't even that high in general. Maybe it's just the combination of his base stats and some of the boss nodes that boost it so much. Although his base stats are mostly pretty average, so I don't really know, but no big deal. I was just pissed off with how I died during this fight, because that was such a silly way to go down. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. Unfortunately, we lost this war. I think they played pretty well. They had 3 deaths against us, if I remember correctly. So that's it for this war. Hopefully I can make another war video fairly soon. They just take longer to make than my other stuff, and I am quite busy these days. But yeah, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.